Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. We are here to do Facebook Live, Kuck Baxter Immigration, Facebook Live. I'm going to give people a few minutes to jump on. Today, I'm going to talk about what's going on with the immigration reform in Congress as part of the budget reconciliation. I'm going to talk about exciting news about students in F1 status no longer needing to bridge the gap. That's exciting news that came out yesterday. What else? Oh, the new child tax credit. Many people have questions about whether or not that applies if you have a mixed status family. How do you go about getting that if you haven't gotten it before? You might have just gotten a direct deposit or a check in the mail. What can you do with it? That is, I'm not a tax lawyer, but I do know that some clients have mixed status families and have questions about this, especially with the change in administration. So Trump did some stuff where people in mixed status families couldn't benefit from some of the programs. So I just thought I'd address that. And DACA, what's new with DACA? Oh my gosh, what a roller coaster. This has been such a roller coaster. But this is not the first time that we are on this ride. So we have a little bit of a picture of what we think is going to happen next and how all the pieces of all of this political stuff fit together. Okay, hi, Ahmad. You have a question? Go ahead and ask your question. Let's get started with a question. I'll see if I can answer it. Remember, folks, that I am not your person to do litigation updates. Hopefully you all watched Mr. Kuck's update. He did oral arguments with Greg Siskin on Monday in DC, I think. We're all cheering him on in that litigation and hoping for huge success, which is what we anticipate. We're confident in that case. All right, let's see. Sicarius, thank you for the question. Okay, Ahmad, I'm going to take Sicarius's question first since it came in before yours, okay? I'll try to keep up. All right, if they're a case on DACA, the USCIS accepts, will they keep the process going or are they going to cancel it? All right, the Texas judge issued his decision. The following business day, the USCIS director issued a statement which is available on the website that says USCIS will continue accepting and processing DACA applications. That means you're going to still see biometrics appointments. You're going to still see receipt notices issued. But they cannot adjudicate or answer those applications until the current order is not in effect. So as we've seen, in the past few years, we learned a lot about litigation and a lot about how all of these things interplay. Everything was right in the forefront under the Trump administration. It was a great civics lesson for everyone. So we anticipate this order from the Texas judge is probably going to be sued. Like they're probably going to try to enjoin this order. Someone going to try to do that. That might cause like a pause, and USCIS might be able to issue further adjudications, or we might see something else happen. So the short answer to a long bit of information is that we anticipate we are going to see USCIS continue processing the applications as far as they can, but they will not be adjudicating them until they can, until something happens with that Texas judge's order. We have no information that indicates they're going to just reject them or deny them. So to cancel the process doesn't look like necessarily that's in the cards at this moment. What you do need to remember, obviously, is once you submit your application with your filing fees, no matter what happens with this litigation stuff, they're not going to return your filing fees, right? So if your application is accepted for processing and they continue processing it, they're going to keep your filing fees. So that's one thing. Some people are willing to go ahead, get that place in line, make sure that they have their DACA submitted. They're willing to pay those filing fees just to be part of the process. So we'll keep you updated. You know we're watching DACA very, very closely, which brings us to the next DACA update. But let me see what else we've got going on here. I think some people are asking questions about DV 2020. Okay, Ahmad, you are asking questions about, you are a DV 2020 lottery winner. And David, so are you. Okay, guys, just keep watching Mr. Kuck's updates. The litigation, I think is gonna help everybody, but you're gonna have to just keep watching those updates. I'm not your expert on DV litigation, okay? So please, please, please keep watching our Facebook page and watching Mr. Kuck's updates on all of that. All right, let's see. This is a good question, Montoya. TPS renewal or extension. Okay, I have not seen or heard anything on TPS renewal or extension for Honduras. I anticipate it will come. I'm not feeling super worried about that being renewed for Honduras. As you probably know, part of the alleged things that are in this immigration reform package that they're trying to get through budget reconciliation may include a path to citizenship for TPS holders. So that may be why we're not seeing necessarily any sort of, because we're less than 90 days potentially from that expiring. So just hang tight, keep watching that. That brings us as a great segue into the immigration reform budget reconciliation stuff. A lot of buzz happening about that. There's word on the street, and everything I'm reading is that we can anticipate a DACA or Dreamers path to citizenship, farm worker, something for farm workers and something for TPS holders. We are hoping that all of those things make it in there. I think there's a few other things like recapturing numbers that may be able to help people who were not able to utilize their visas because of the pandemic and things like that. So all of that would be excellent for our economy and excellent for a lot of people and families. So we're hoping that that's going to go through budget reconciliation. So the parliamentarian, I saw in an article that the parliamentarian was formerly an immigration lawyer. And it's like, I have never seen that mentioned about this person ever. And I read all the time about politics. And I'm like, what in the world is this? Where did this come from? So I looked it up, and this article that I read was in, I think, The Hill. Anyway, they tried to make it like the parliamentarian might be shaded towards one side or the other because she's formerly an immigration attorney. Well, come to find out that the facts that I found on her bio is that she was a trial attorney for the Department for DHS. So she was a prosecutor. So I don't know that that makes her any particularly one-sided. And it doesn't really have anything whatsoever to do with potentially her job as parliamentarian, but she may be able to understand some nuances about immigration law and how these proposals are related to budget. You know, it has to be related to actual spending. So we'll see. I don't know that that's all that relevant, but I was surprised to see that. So, but you guys might find that interesting as well. We've also been hearing that some sort of a vote, that the Texas judge's order kind of maybe makes it, puts the Democrats in a little bit more of a bind that they need to take action now on DACA, something to help Dreamers and DACA recipients. I don't know if that's going to really give them the push that they need, but I hope so. And I heard that that might mean that they potentially try to push this through before they go on recess in August. So that they go on recess, I think, like after the first week of August. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we're going to see something happen. I'll let you guys know. I love following that kind of stuff. So we're on top of it, and you can count on us for an update. So we've had a bunch of questions coming in. Let me see what we've got. Okay, hold on. I got to scroll up. I'm going to try to go in order. Okay. Oh, and Montoya, as far as renewing your driver's license, your expiration date should match up with the current TPS expiration. So you can expect that USCIS, when they do renew it or extend it, will put something on the USCIS website that you could then use to, in Georgia anyway, potentially get a extension on your driver's license. All right, so all of you DV 2020 people asking questions, I'm sorry I can't give you more help, but just keep watching our Facebook page and look for those litigation updates, okay? All right, let's see here. Maria Antionetta, what a beautiful name. Okay, advanced parole in 2001, lost my passport with my entry stamp. I requested record of my entry. Soon I'll be begin adjustment of status process. Could I use that record like it's my I-94? Yes, you should be able to. Obviously, I'm not seeing exactly what you got from the FOIA, but what you have to prove in an adjustment application is that you were inspected and admitted. I will caution you, however, that some of the policies have changed on how USCIS is applying advanced parole under TPS, whether or not it's an entry with inspection or admission. It's so counterintuitive. You had a travel document, permission to travel and be readmitted. You traveled, you re-entered, and somehow that's not an inspection and admission for 245A. But it's super confusing, doesn't make a whole lot of intuitive sense, but that's one little weird thing that is happening right now in immigration law. It's been happening recently in immigration law. So I would just caution you that you, in general, might want to make sure that you're working with an experienced immigration lawyer who's keeping up with all of these little changes. But as far as your general question, you have to demonstrate that you were inspected and admitted with the best evidence available to you. Okay, you can also try to get a copy of your I-94. So I'm wondering what kind of, maybe you just did CBP FOIA, and that could potentially be proof that you were inspected and admitted. I have to look at the document to give you precise advice, but that's in general. Okay, Carlos, I have a brother that qualifies for 245I. He has a 16-year-old daughter. Is there any relief available to him? Okay, so anybody who qualifies for 245I is relieved of the requirement of showing that they were inspected and admitted, and working without permission is also forgiven. People have to pay a $1,000 fine. Now, you also have to have a visa that's currently available. So if the person qualifies under a sibling petition, that might be available at this point. If they don't, and they want to try to adjust through immediate relative petition and use that 245I to not have to be able to get around that requirement that you were inspected and admitted, then they could. So in other words, the adjustment with 245I as an immediate relative can be done through a U.S. citizen child who's 21 years or older. So in this case, this 16-year-old daughter may need to become 21 in order to petition for her dad, and then he can use the 245I in order to adjust here in the U.S. without having to leave and do a waiver and all of that. So he doesn't qualify for DACA. The mom is a resident, and he has an older brother that's a U.S. citizen. Okay, Carlos, in general, it sounds good if he's 245I. That's always a positive, but it's also very complicated. So we've got a lot of information in your question. We would need a little bit more just to nail down, because you have to have both. You have to have a currently available way to adjust, plus the 245I that relieves your requirement to have entered with inspection and all of that. So we need a little bit more information. He might just have to wait a little bit longer, but he's in a good position. All right, let's see. Laura, she has a 24-year-old son, that's 24 years old with DACA. I'm a resident and I want to put in his petition. Do you recommend me to do so? So, Laura, you can definitely petition for a child as a resident. However, people who are not immediate relatives, so not a child of a U.S. citizen, let's see. We need a little bit more information, and here's what I'm going to say. We need to know, and I don't want you to post the answers here, but we can do a consult. But in general, for people who are watching, we would need to know, how did the person enter, if they entered with inspection or not, so that we can figure out, and when they got DACA, so we can figure out how much accumulated unlawful presence they have. A person who is the recipient of a lawful permanent residence petition, most likely, under virtually all circumstances, has the consular process. And so that's why we're looking at what waivers or anything does the person have to apply for, okay? So an I-130 is something that you can file to petition for a relative. If you want to see which categories of people can petition, you can go to the Visa Bulletin. Just Google Visa Bulletin, and you'll see F1, F2, F3, F4, and that'll sort of tell you the different categories. You can figure out which one he falls into. Also, you might consider naturalizing. Might be a faster line. So you can look at that Visa Bulletin and see what might work for you. Ahmad, we do not know when an order will come out on DV 2020. At least I don't. I don't think that Mr. Kuck has a crystal ball either. But just keep watching our Facebook page for DV 2020, DV litigation, okay? All right, let's see. Rodolfo, we give prices in consultation because it depends on the facts of a person's case, but in general, our DACA and advanced parole prices are very reasonable. So please do a consultation with us, and we can give you the number one thing you find out in the consultation is if you're even eligible for something. So I wouldn't want to just throw out prices without knowing the facts of your case, whether you're eligible, and whether there would be any complications to make your case a little bit harder. Okay, let's see. Hassan. Okay, Hassan, I am not doing deep. I really appreciate the compliment. I am not doing DV litigation, so I can't necessarily update you on what's going on there. But I will say that I feel confident. I mean, you know, it's very our argument makes a lot of sense. So let's see what the court does. All right, let's see what Connie's asking about about EBT. Okay, Connie. So I received an EBT card in the mail from my daughter, 6 years old, but my name is listed as a person on the card. Will this affect me in my process? I didn't apply for the government assistance. You know what, Connie? This is a great question, and I do not necessarily know the exact answer, but I understand your concern. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that children cannot really do financial transactions, and so the EBT card would be issued in the name of the parent or guardian who is old enough to do financial transactions. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's probably totally fine. And you should be fine, especially if you didn't list your name on anything. And I'm also assuming that this child is a U.S. citizen. A lot of people worry about asking for help to get their children assistance for food or medical care, things like that. U.S. citizen children are entitled to that benefit, and it shouldn't affect, that is a benefit that they are entitled to, that they are given based on their citizenship. So it shouldn't affect your application at all. During the Trump administration, things got a little wonky there. We didn't know how that was going to be used against people, but that's over. We're not dealing with I-944 anymore. We're not dealing with any of that stuff. What I do recall during the I-944 is we were advising people that the benefits that are entitled to U.S. citizen children were not going to be looked at in that instance anyway. So Connie, I think you're fine. But if you do have concerns, maybe you can call your Department of Children and Family Services and just double check that they issued the EBT card in the right name. And I imagine they'll tell you that they issued it in your name so you could do the financial transactions, you know, so you could swipe the card, show your ID, and it all matches. And that makes sense to me, okay? Okay, let's see. Maribel wants to apply for advanced parole. Okay, advanced parole is still an option. I mean, really, Maribel, it's about your comfort level. At this point, I mean, I'm fairly conservative in the way I approach a lot of these things. If it were me, I would wait a bit just to see what happens with this litigation. You could always apply for it, but, and there's no harm in applying for it, but I don't know. You have to understand that by the time it's a decision may be made on it, something could change, right? So, or we don't know how long it's going to be sitting and waiting because we don't know what's going to happen in the litigation. So it's really up to you and what sort of resources you have. And if it's, you know, the filing fee and the application, filing fee is, and the attorney's fees are something that you feel comfortable with paying, then you can do that. You know, Gabrielle is asking, are advanced parole applications still being accepted? Yes, everything's still being accepted based on what is on the, sorry about that, based on what is on the USCIS website. Okay. I'm trying to remember if they were also, if we anticipate them still being adjudicated, the advanced parole and the renewals. And I'm pretty sure that the answer to that was that advanced parole and renewals will still be adjudicated. It's the initials that are going to be held. So yes, but everything is still being accepted. Let's see, what are you asking? Connie, what's going on with the litigation? Is AP not going to be available? Yes, that's exactly what we're just talking about. Advanced parole should still be available. It's my recollection that the decision said that it was not related to advanced parole or renewals, that was limited to initial filings. So if I'm wrong about that, I'll correct it in the notes, but I'm pretty sure that was the situation. Okay, now one other thing. Oh, well, I've got several things that I can still talk about, but one thing I wanted to mention is the new child tax credits. So that is available to mixed status families, meaning if parents don't have status and they have U.S. citizen children, they can anticipate receiving the advance monthly child tax credits. So that's changing from how it used to be, where you would apply for your taxes and you'd get the payment from the previous year. Now you're going to get a monthly advance for each child. And if you have filed, as long as you qualify, if your income is not, I think it's over 150,000, and you have previously filed your taxes. Now, there is a way, if you haven't filed your taxes yet, that you can basically like register. Sorry, there's a fly in here, that you can register, and you can go on the IRS website and do that. If you don't have an I-10 already, that can, I think I read that could be, I-10 is an individual taxpayer ID number. A lot of people who don't have status get that. And that is advisable, because we do advise clients to file taxes, because that can help you with a lot of different things in immigration, like showing continuous presence, compliance with the laws, things like that, good moral character, etc. So you can go on the IRS website, Google child tax credit, go to the IRS website, and you can fill out a registration form that lets you, if you haven't filed your taxes before, or your income, you know, some people are not required to file taxes because their income is below the threshold. So you might not have had to do it before. Or you didn't have any kids, but now you do. So that is a good idea. Now, if you think that there's any reason why you might this year make over the income requirement, you might have to pay it back. So you might consider holding that in your savings or something like that. So just the big headline here is that it's available regardless of parent status. So I just wanted to make sure that people understand, because a lot of times that is a question that we receive. Okay, let's see. How long have I already applied for advanced parole in February. How long the decision takes? I anticipate 3 to 6 months. So you're getting close, Erica. You're getting really close. All right. Do you think that with initial applications being put on hold, it might speed up the process for people who have submitted renewals? That's a great question, Connie. I think it could. And I did on my last Facebook Live, I think. Oh my gosh, and I was so excited about this announcement from the Biden administration, and then the Texas federal judge issued that awful decision on Friday. But Biden administration announced that they were hiring more adjudicators in order to process applications more quickly, which was great news in theory, right? So, I mean, maybe it'll mean that renewals will be processed more quickly, but I think that in the end, they're still going to be moving them through the initials through the pipeline. The only thing that they're not going to do on the initials is that final step. This is my understanding from what I've read on the website. So, and the, you know, director's statement. So let's hope that it speeds things up. Plus all the new adjudicators that they're supposedly hiring, and that's going to take time too. You know, nothing happens overnight. But let's hope it speeds things up. I don't know that we can really bet the farm on that, though. They'll probably just be processing at the same rate. But I do expect that whenever something happens with that court order, that they'll send out a flurry of decisions. Hopefully, like, you know, a flurry of approvals. And so we'll see. We'll see. Just stay tuned and we'll keep you updated. All right. So I think I caught all the questions. What was the other? Oh, the last thing that I had on my list that I wanted to update y'all was that USCIS announced a new policy yesterday. Oh, let me take Connie's question real quick before I go on to the student visa thing. An extension you can submit to not lose your job. So you get on your I-765, that's an automatic renewal for some applications. You know, it says on the I-765 receipt that that's an automatic renewal for some applications. Beyond that, no. You can put in an expedite request, you can, but with initial, you know, with, I guess, renewals, should still be moving. Call the hotline. Call the hotline. I have seen people call the hotline like multiple, now it hasn't worked for other people, but I have seen some people call the hotline and say, like, my job is getting terminated. I have this many kids, like I have mouths to feed, et cetera, et cetera. And the renewal will come like the day before the expiration of the card. So sometimes that advocacy works, sometimes it falls on deaf ears, but it doesn't hurt to advocate for yourself, push that hotline, try to get to a person, try to escalate it to a supervisor and see if, now if you just filed your application 30 days ago, that might be a harder sell. But if it's been pending for several months, you've done everything you're supposed to do. Let me look, Connie. I don't remember off the top of my head if the I-765 automatic extension applies to DACAs. But I can look. A DACA is a C-33. So here's the list. Let's see. Eligible categories. If you want to look at this too, you can Google automatic EAD extension, and there's a chart. There's a chart right there. And it looks like no. C-33 is not on that chart. So that's not going to help you. Now, if you have DACA, but you also have another pending application like a adjustment of status and you've got a C9, that's going to help you, or an asylum application, that's going to help you. The extension, automatic extension is going to help you. But it's only for a 6-month window, so it isn't that big of a deal or help. So, all right. And like I said, call the 800 number. Okay, one last thing before I run. I just want to give you guys the update that student visas no longer need to bridge the gap. That was where people wanted to, like in order to prevent a gap in their status, they would file the visitor visas or, you know, to try to bridge the gap, to plug in those holes. And that has been changed. The policy has been changed as far as USCIS announced that as long as that's pending, people are in good shape. So I will post that. I will post links to these policies that you're welcome, Connie. Thank you. Thank you for all the great questions today. I'm going to post a few links like that chart that I referenced, and I'm going to post, I am going to post that announcement regarding DACA, that they're still accepting filings, and I'm also going to post the link regarding the policy change, okay? So anybody who sees this later, you can follow those links and read up on the policy straight from the horse's mouth, okay? All right, well, thank you so much for all your great questions and being with me today. I'll see you next Thursday with some more updates, and make sure you have some questions ready for me. I love answering y'all's questions and being with y'all. So if you don't know me, I'm Elizabeth Mathern. I'm the attorney in the South Georgia office, which is in Adel, Georgia, right off of I-75 between Tipton and Valdosta. So if you're anywhere in North Florida or South Georgia, Middle Georgia, Alabama, South Alabama, and you want to come over and see us, please feel free. We're here. Our hours and our number have been posted in the comments. And thanks so much for your time. I enjoyed being with you. Take care.